Namaste. हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया. I'm Jv'n Dr. Lily Trivedi, and today I'm going to discuss on the impact of disaster. As we all know, the disaster is an event which causes loss to life, loss to property. So we are today going to discuss the impact of the disaster and in what terms the losses are there. The direct losses are there. First, and which includes the physical effects such as destructions and changes which reduce the functionality of a sick person or a building or a structure. Now, the damage can be in terms of death or injury or in terms of their house or their household belongings, their vehicles, and after the disaster is over, the cleanup and the disposal charges. So these are the direct losses. Now, if we consider the indirect losses, what could they be? They are indirect losses are the affect society by disrupting or damaging the utility services or local businesses. The loss of revenue, the increase in the cost of all items, and the expenses connected with the provision of assistance, lodging, providing free drinking water, and the cost which is needed to drive long distances because of the hindered transport. So these are the indirect losses. Now, there are some intangible losses also, that is like the psychological impairment, which are caused both by direct and intangible losses. And the person suffers during the disaster. Now, the National Disaster Impact Assessment here plays a very important role. It helps the individual to estimate what are the costs and to conduct a cost benefit ratio analysis. Now, the possible end users of this National Disaster Impact Assessment are first is the government. Now, what happens? The government estimates the direct losses to the taxpayer and it reports what are the, and it also identifies the segment or the areas or the community which has been affected. Then in the other we have the community leaders. They also play an important role in assessment of disaster impact because they assess the impact according to the external assessment assistant which is necessary. Now, what could be? They can be certain community leaders based on certain specific communities, or they can be general community leaders. Then we also have the planners. Now, they also assess the damage. How do they assess the damage? Because they know both the expected losses and they can also judge the losses which have occurred and how it is possible to reduce the cost effective strategies for future. Then we have the insurance companies. Now what happens? These insurance companies need the data on the maximum losses to their portfolio so that they can take an additional measure to elevate the risk and so that they can also link it to the future in case of disaster. Now they can also have the securities deposited or they can increase in the premium to cover the disasters. Now the data reliability and availability it depends on different issues. Now what are these issues for impact assessment? It depends on the current event, whether it is the time, how much time is taken for the data to be gathered. Then there are long-term losses like the losses due to disaster which keep occurring for long time. Slow disaster like there are landslides which cause damage for a long period. So they are long-term losses. Then in some countries we have certain agencies which are responsible for gathering the data. Now, if they are international based, So the data can be either more or it can be less. It depends on how much amount of relief is being provided. Then the data on the property damage also results in the depreciation of the property value. Now, some type of data also cause damage to roads, to buildings. So here it is uh, not labeled as damage. And what happens here when the heavy rain triggers both landslides and floods, for example, so it is very difficult to assess in which category will they be categorized because the damage is both due to both events. Sometimes they are related events. Then we have certain developing countries. If they are receiving aid from developed countries, they can exaggerate their damage so that more relief is provided. So these are some of the impacts of disaster I have taken very briefly. Now we also have psychological effects of disaster. Now what are those psychological effects? They induce certain diseases. They are also having those stress related due to the losses the person they are having many psychological problems develop. They face depression, they commit suicide. So these are the certain psychological effects a person or a community can face. Then we have some physical effects. Now, what are the physical effects? They are the damage which is being caused to the person, to the community, to the buildings, to the infrastructure, etc. So these physical effects are also the impact of disaster. And then we have data collection. Now, data collection, as already mentioned, it can be with the help of certain agencies, or it can be on individual level, or it can be through a survey or research. Now, this data collection is more specific at a local level, and as we go on an international level, it is more brief. Then we have a positive effect also on natural disaster. Now, what is the positive effect? Like the prices are increased. So what happens in those areas where there is disaster, the price is increased. But it is beneficial for those who are in the nearby areas. They are providing from benefit from the increased prices. So now if students, if we take into view the recent disaster that is COVID-19. COVID-19 due to coronavirus. Now we have all of us have faced the impact of this disaster. It the disaster is not related to any building. It is there are indirect losses. The direct losses is in the terms of death of people, and indirect is in terms of loss of job, lockdown period where everybody has to be stay in the house to prevent the spread of coronavirus disease. Then we have the disaster. It has been we have to take data. Data is being collected at local level, regional level, city level, country level, and international overall data is also being provided daily. Now there are agencies which are collecting these data and providing to the media, to the international agencies. Our community leaders, our president, our prime minister, our state leaders and doctors, so many people, they are providing assistance and they are providing the necessary information and collecting the data so that there is less damage. Now the planners, we have different strategies. We are providing the material for safety precautions, giving the pamphlets to media, to communication. So all the information is being provided. As for insurance, the many insurance companies have been directed to provide insurance against the coronavirus treatment so that the person, if the person is affected and has already taken a policy, can undertake the benefit of this insurance. Now we also have a positive effect of corona, as we all know, due to the lockdown, Due to this disaster, the lockdown implemented has had a positive impact on the environment. Environmental pollution has decreased to a drastic level. The ozone layer has healed. The animal life of the whole planet has benefit from this lockdown period where the pollution level has gone down. The psychological effects of people's thinking have changed due to this disaster, and they are now more aware, more health, hygiene, more effectively following the rules for distance, social distancing, etc., for managing the disaster. So, students, the impact of disaster is vast. I have only been able to cover a very small portion of it. I hope you have liked my lecture. If you have any queries, please comment in the comment section. I will resolve it soon. This session was powered by digital version 2.0 of JVWUimpacts Women's University. So thank you and namaste.